Is SpongeBob SquarePants secretly dishing up adult content to your children?
There once was a man from Nantucket. Oh, sorry, wrong one. There once was a girl from Nantucket. Not that chant.
Are these so-called harmless dirty jokes in cartoons just innocent humor for adults, or is there something more sinister going on?
I'm Mia. I'm Tia. We're like your biggest fans.
I love being men.
Could it be that some of Hollywood's animators, adults, are purposely slipping some of these perverse ideas into kids' cartoons that your kids are watching?
And he said, well, you've got all these guys who were kind of nerds in school, weren't really social, and then all of a sudden they get this skill, they learned how to draw really well, then they're handed millions of dollars, and you're out there in Los Angeles and they get themselves in a lot of trouble, and they're, partying and doing whatever, and they're putting all those adult jokes in there because they think it's funny.
If that's the case, then this isn't just some innocent joke, it's serious. We've got to investigate this. SpongeBob SquarePants, one of the best known kids cartoons out there. Kids cartoons. You mentioned to me earlier that maybe more adults watch it than kids.
Apparently, most of the viewers of SpongeBob today are adults, not even kids anymore.
But it's supposed to be a kids show. It's aired still on Nickelodeon as a kids show. It's interesting. A couple years ago, we made a video about Nickelodeon exposing some of the dark stuff in there. And I don't know if she's still there, but Seema Zarqami was like the head of Viacom and was overlooking Nickelodeon. And she was like, yeah, the SpongeBob is the essence of what we really stand for.
Finally, I couldn't speak to you today without mentioning our friend SpongeBob SquarePants. Believe it or not, SpongeBob marks its 10th anniversary in 2009. And we do, in fact, live in a SpongeBob world. Because our beloved Sponge does capture the essence of what our brand really stands for.
Have you guys ever seen those adult jokes, hidden adult jokes in SpongeBob and other cartoons?
There's a lot of references between him and his buddy Patrick.
And also like homosexual references.
Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, man, is my mind actually not that pure, or are they being that obvious about it?
Yeah.
I think they're being that obvious. I mean, you've got a lot of adults that are making that, and these guys, from what I was explained, Rico Hill used to work on this show, or he was part of the team that would okay
worked for
them.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah. So I asked him that one time, said, hey, why are these things so? And he said, well, you've got all these guys who were kind of nerds in school, weren't really social, and then all of a sudden they get this skill, they learned how to draw really well, then they're handed millions of dollars, and you're out there in Los Angeles and they get themselves in a lot of trouble, and they're, partying and doing whatever, and they're putting all those adult jokes in there because they think it's funny. And it just flies by the radar a lot of times.
Well, does it is the question. Does it really fly by the radar of kids, right? Like, do kids really not see this kind of stuff? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it depends on, I'm sure, the kids' age. Nowadays, it's like what we consider to be like kosher is probably really boring stuff that the kids don't watch. I mean, there's a lot of these kind of things that kids are getting exposed to that I think have a lot of these things in them.
Well, and we'll take a look at a couple clips in a second, but I do think that kids are introduced to it's a younger and younger age, and so a lot of them probably will pick up on this. And it's like this little extra seed that's being planted in their brains. And if they don't pick up on this, I guarantee you it's stored somewhere that in future years they're like, oh yeah, there's somehow the brain's making these connections, and I don't think it's for no reason. So have you guys heard of Rugrats? You guys heard of that?
Yeah, this show was popular when I was a kid, and
So this is Nickelodeon. I watched it as a kid too, and I remember I even went to the movie theater because they had a Rugrats movie out and stuff. But I want to look at a couple of things here regarding relationships and dude, it's pretty wild. Let's take a look.
Not much of a pirate, but I like his booty. Woohoo!
And my personal favorite, Lonely Space Vixen. That's for after you go to bed.
An adult magazine.
What's in there, Lou? Toys? Nope. Candy? Nope. A brand new car? Nope. It's way better than all those things.
Number 2, Angelica messes with innocent art.
Who cares about good? I'm gonna be the bestest. We'll just see about that.
Both Angelica and Susie want to be the best preschool student in the class. They constantly compete and even sabotage each other to get ahead. When Susie draws a nice picture of her teacher, Angelica decides to vandalize it. She draws 2 round circles around the eyes and adds a long cylinder over the nose. Although Angelica might have been trying to draw a pair of funny glasses, the older audiences will have trouble seeing anything other than male anatomy.
You wrecked it! I didn't mean to.
Since the drawing is only on screen for a couple of seconds, this joke likely went way over our heads as kids. But now that we're older, there's no way we can unsee what Angelica drew.
Angelica, I will give you 5 more minutes to cut that out.
What?
That's a little odd.
I mean, there's literally like twice. There's a magazine, there's a DVD in there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, and this is Lonely Space Victims, but that's for after you go to bed. And it's like hidden in the corner. It's like a half-naked alien woman.
Yeah, and you see a woman with a pair of bunny ears on.
Yeah. And then they're like referencing to his booty and...
Yeah. And the way that Rico kind of explained this is you have adults that are putting adult humor into these things. As a kid, you might not pick up on that, but I'm sure it's registering in your brain.
Yeah.
So down the road, those little seeds get watered.
Wasn't there like a cartoon or something that you mentioned that where there was an adult joke and you remembered it as a kid?
Yeah. Was it maybe SpongeBob that we were talking about?
Either that or something from Cartoon Network.
When I remember cartoons actually starting to be vulgar was Ren and Stimpy. You remember those?
Yeah.
That was kind of like the first time that they would, have their body parts shown or whatever, like their buns, like they'd pull off their pants.
Nickelodeon as well.
Yeah, and that was the first time I think that parents were just like, "What is this nonsense?" Before it was just kind of violence in the cartoon, but this kind of added a whole nother grotesque level.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched any of those kinds of cartoons. I was never like a Rugrats person or Ren and Stimpy. I was more like Animaniacs and Batman and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it goes pretty far and wide, like the movie Cars, which you would think pretty innocuous.
Yeah, when the two little things flash their headlights.
Yeah, it's a couple of twins.
And they're flashing. And
they're flashing,
you understand what that metaphor is.
I'm Mia. It's here. We're like your biggest fans.
I love being men.
We love you, Lightning.
I don't know that all the kids are picking up on that, but adults probably for sure.
Yeah.
So it gets it's engraved in there. I mean, I think probably what you were referencing to is a cartoon that I used to watch, Dexter's Laboratory.
We got a clip on that too.
Yeah, that
was the clip that I'm gonna show? Was that the one you remembered?
Maybe.
Yeah, you think
maybe.
so? I got that from you, I think.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier.
Okay, we'll look at that in just a second, but let's look at SpongeBob now.
Number 18, Dutchie the Unfaithful Ghost. After the Flying Dutchman severely damages his ship, the ghost decides to move in with SpongeBob. But the change of scenery causes the Spectre to start losing his spooky mojo. During a particularly low point, the Flying Dutchman stops caring about hygiene and hits on a lady fish. But she hesitates to accept his advances when she notices a small but vital detail about the ghost.
You like ponies, I like ponies!
Is that a wedding ring?
Oh, this shows nothing.
The implication that the Flying Dutchman was ready to cheat on his wife made for a pretty mature gag. If SpongeBob hadn't kicked the ladyfish out, the ghost might have ended up in the doghouse with his wife for eternity.
Alrighty, boys, party's over. Time to scoot, honey.
I mean, multiple things here going on that I think are planting seeds. Kids are always exposed to this idea of ghosts. I mean, there's been a lot of like ghosty type of things. So to me, that's giving the wrong perspective of the state of the dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're kind of like making fun of marriages and stuff like that. So we know as society, we have a hard time, keeping the marriage wholesome and together. And were these things kind of contributing to planting seeds in people's minds, just degrading marriage to like, whatever, if I don't want it, I'll just throw it out.
You could have left that scene out. I mean, just a few seconds of not including a wedding ring and just moving on with the story. Right.
And that one's easily picked up by kids. It's not so subtle.
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious.
It's just a little dig on like marriage doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, yeah, and and if you don't want to cheat on your spouse, it's okay. Then also, it's not like the ring wasn't very obvious; it was super obvious, and then it was like stuck on SpongeBob's nose. It's like I want you to see this.
Yeah, you notice his clothing and everything was see through. The ring was not.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and also then the girl who seems to be innocent in this case because she's pointing out that he has a ring. Like, what are you doing? She gets kicked out of the house, but he gets to stay. Like what?
Interesting.
So she's the bad person and he's not. All right, so I've got a couple of Bible verses about this because the Bible's pretty clear. Exodus 20 verse 14 is one of the commandments. You shall not commit adultery. But then Jesus goes into this a little more in Matthew 5, 27 through 28. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So I mean, what the ghost did with the fish, it's adultery. What that lady did in the beginning in Rugrats, she's like, oh, he's got a nice booty. Like, what are you doing? You're lusting after another person, openly, publicly. And, Rugrats is watched by very young children. Just put in their brain like, I can go flirt and like call out someone's booty,
I like that Jesus brought this up because in this day and age, it's always been like kind of slam on the woman. And, he's addressing the men in this, and the woman that was caught in adultery. I mean, where's the dude that she was with?
Yeah.
Right. He drug out there, you know, it's like, it's kind of just like really speaks to at that time, they were always thinking that women's the problem. And, he hit the nail on the head. It's like, no, I'm going to talk to you boys.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So here comes Dexter's Laboratories, a show on Cartoon Network.
Okay, Dexter, you can answer the door for your girlfriend. I do not know what you are talking about, but as long as I am here, I might as well. Okay, Dexter, think cool. Ciao. How's my little guy this evening?
Lisa, thanks for coming over, hon. There's food in the kitchen, and we left the number where you can reach us. Be good, kids.
Ah, yes! Oh, yeah, sure. I saw your game today. You were great. Hello, Jeff?
Lisa, are you there? Lisa!
Dexter, telephone line disconnected. Ready for redial and voice augmentation.
Good.
Hello, Lisa! What happened?
Oh, I guess we just got cut off. But I wanted to call you back and tell you that you have got cooties and I am in love with Dexter. Bye.
Hello, Lisa? Hey, what is this? Hello? That's it. I'm coming over.
Now for phase 2. Hello, Jeff? Jeff, what happened?
Oh, I guess we just got cut off.
But I wanted to call you back and tell you that you have got cooties and I am in love with my football. Bye.
Hello, Jeff? Jeff, are you there?
Mission accomplished.
What do you guys think about that?
The fact that he's meddling in their relationship.
Right.
Yeah, pretty dishonest.
Yeah, he's like lying. He's just setting it up.
He's the main character of the show too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the Bible's got something to say about this. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks not evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That's God's love. That's biblical love.
Which is really thinking of somebody else and, being others focused. And here we see in this particular example here, he's only thinking about himself. He doesn't care who he hurts just to get what he wants.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously caused the girl pain and,
and the guy.
Yeah, caused him anger and stuff. So, in little subtle ways that, think of our lives are just built on these experiences of things that we see and learn from. And we're a bunch of monkey see, monkey do. So, yeah. A clip like that can easily plant some seeds in people's minds. That's your problem. No.
Yeah, it's interesting because I grew up on Nickelodeon. My dad would always buy new TVs, like every couple of years, and the old TVs they would just put in our bedrooms, which I think is not a good idea. Don't ever do that. But I was just binge watching Nickelodeon, and then when I was old enough, I was binge watching MTV, and so I watched this like all the time. I got out of school, I watched TV till like going to bed every single day, and I can guarantee you, I know for a fact this is not the only one-off time that this kind of theme shows up in a kid's show. It's always like that. It's always about me, myself, what can I get out of it? What can I do? It's never about, let's just be loving and kind to somebody else. It's always like breaking the rules and those kind of things. Rebel against your parents, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if we, raise our kids with the Bible, this is what you get. If you raise your kids on TV, that's got to be the result, you know?
And the reality is how many parents are actually sitting there and probably watching this with their children.
Or beforehand, making sure,
and a lot of times you're going to just like turn it on and go do something else. So this kind of stuff gets like the programs inside of your kids' minds.
So next up, we got Teen Titans. Keith, this might have been more up your alley. This is from DC Comics originally, but yeah, it was aired on Cartoon Network.
Number 10, Starfire and Robin, Teen Titans franchise. In most, if not all, of the Teen Titans media out there, Robin and Starfire meet under less than ideal circumstances. That's probably what brings them so close in the first place.
There. Now maybe we can be...
If you wish not to be destroyed, you will leave me alone.
Okay. So first I'm forcing a kiss on you, and then I'm going to shout in your face.
That was weird.
This was super weird. It was like super aggressive. And again, this is the picture of love that kids get. But the Bible says in Colossians 3:12 through 13, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, even as Christ forgave, so you also must do. So do you guys think that this is showing Christ-like love?
No. And, you have a compound problem if you're in a broken home, because you're not seeing that picture played out. And so you're just getting it from all ends. And you wonder why, people struggle in relationships. I was just reading the other day, and I think guys that are under 30, like 6 out of 10 of them are single.
Wow. Under 30.
Yeah.
Wow.
This generation never been more single than compared to any other. That's a fact.
I think there's a lot of artificial love happening.
Yeah.
So maybe they're getting pacified rather than...
Yeah, other ways.
Yeah.
But if your relationships look like this, or they're not looking right at home, then you're going to look for something else.
Right.
And, we'll talk about that on another show that I'm working on, but I think they tend to be more inward focused. You start to think more like, well, it's not working with other people, so I might as well just get what I want out of it.
Yeah, I really think that Satan's got something for every generation, and he's just starting to feed them from young. And if the Bible says, raise up a child in the way of the Lord, and he will not
depart
from it, then, Satan is trying to do the same thing. He's like, if I just get them young, then they're most likely going to stay in this direction. Obviously, God's mercy is greater, his love is greater, but really, if you're set off on the wrong foot from a young age, man, it makes it that much harder.
Yeah, but you think of the words of Jesus too, and how powerful it is when he says you must be born again.
Yes.
Yes. It's like you need to start over young, so they can be transformed and shaped from a new start, a new beginning.
You guys heard of Hey Arnold? You guys ever watch that?
No.
You have not?
A lot of these kind of like Nickelodeon shows. There's Nickelodeon again.
Yeah, it's Nickelodeon. Yeah.
I missed a lot of these.
Wow. Yeah. So I remember this specifically, and that's why I picked it out. I watched this growing up. It's about this kid on the right, and this kid on the left, I think his name's Olga. Arnold is on the right. Anyway, so Arnold is always bullied by Olga. Olga's like this masculine kind of girl who's always being mean, but secretly deep down, she actually really likes Arnold. She just never tells him. In this case, she actually tells him. Let's take a look at what's happening.
Maybe I don't hate you as much as I thought, okay? I guess maybe I even kind of like you a little. Heck, I guess you might even kind of say that I like you a lot.
You do? You did this for me?
That's right, hair boy. I mean, criminy. What else are you supposed to do when someone you love is in trouble?
Love?
You heard me, pal. I love you. Love you. Who else do you think has been stalking you night and day, building shrines to you in a closet, filling volumes of books with poems about you? I love you, Arnold. I've always loved you ever since I first laid eyes on your stupid football head. And from that moment and every moment since, I've lived and breathed for you, dreamed of the moment I could finally tell you my sacred feelings and could grab you and kiss you and... Oh, come here, you big lug.
I'm confused. Did you just say you love me?
What? Are you deaf? Arnold, not now!
Not now. Who the...
Oh, Arnold, just hold me.
I need to think.
Yes, I suppose you'll have to do the thinking for both of us now, darling.
Whoa, this is all happening too fast. I feel dizzy. I need to lie down.
Wonderful, I'll go with you.
No!
I think it's interesting that these few examples that you've been showing, it's like the female is the aggressor.
Yeah, that's true. Teen Titans is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the ones being, I mean, I don't know how inappropriate that would probably send off alarm bells if the guy was trying to constantly do that.
Yeah, I've never seen this show, but I have seen a clip where she is like writing. She has this like poem journal thing, and she made this like homemade statue of Arnold, and she's like writing him like a letter saying, "I will worship you. You make," and she says something like, "You make my womanhood, my womanhood tingle." And there's a parrot there, and the parrot starts repeating, "You make my womanhood like tingle," or something like that. Like, you make me want to use my womanhood for you, or something like that.
Weird.
It's like, okay, that's a step further than just, aggressively kissing someone.
Arnold, my love, my sultry pretty, why must I hold you only whilst I dream? Will I be forever enslaved by your spell? Why must I worship you and never ever tell? Oh, Arnold, you make my girlhood tremble. You make my girlhood tremble? Arnold, you make my girlhood tremble?
Yeah, I remember from when I watched Hey Arnold, she was basically, like you said, worshiping him secretly. And she had like this closet or something where she had all these memorabilia from him. She would like secretly cut his hair. So that in and of itself is problematic.
It's like stalker.
Yeah, dude. And then again, I mean, what are kids being taught here? There's multiple issues with this. One, you shouldn't be worshiping somebody else. And two, you know how frequently teenagers just get absolutely infatuated with somebody else? And it's just like all reasoning goes out the door, and it's just a bunch of hormones. And it's like, yeah, this is just adding to that. Like, oh, this is totally okay. You should just give in to that. And then on top of that, of course, the fact that she is forcefully kissing him. I mean, how many kids are sleeping around at like 12, right? And they're just like, oh yeah, of course I can force myself upon somebody. And like you were saying, well, it's a female, so maybe it's a way to like soften the image of it, but it's still wrong. And boys watch this show too, and they might take this as like, oh, this is how you do it. You just walk up to somebody and smooch them on the lips. Even if they don't want it, you just keep going. Like, what? It's just so bizarre. And then on top of that, obviously, just like in Teen Titans, she was just straight up mean. It's like a mixture of love and just cruelty.
Yeah. It's not a clear picture of like what you would think is a biblical way to love somebody.
Right. Right.
Help them, be kind to them, patient with them. And
exactly. And that's what Philippians 2, 3, and 4 says as well. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition. She was pretty selfish in this regard. Or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others. So this is pretty much the opposite of what was happening here. All right, so let's go back to SpongeBob. Here's a couple bonus clips. Yikes. This one's pretty obvious to us. And again, I don't believe that this is just adult jokes for like a good laugh. I really think this is planting a seed. Even if the kids don't get it yet, I really think this is something that, is doing something. So let's take a look.
Number 19, exploding wiener.
Okay, that didn't work at all.
It only seemed to increase their appetite for wieners.
Once SpongeBob discovers that leftover patty meat can be shaped into wieners, Mr. Krabs sees a golden new business opportunity. The crustacean jacks up the price for this new product and becomes so obsessed that he stops selling his signature burger. While the intense focus on crusty dogs leads to a lot of talk about wieners, the one that sounds dirtiest comes from Squidward.
Right, something that would make Mr. Krabs' whole wiener thing blow right up in his face.
The cashier's bitter request sounds like a euphemism for another activity entirely. When Squidward's line is coupled with the imagery of the crusty dog exploding over fish, you get one dirty joke.
Wow. We actually used this in the video we made about Nickelodeon years ago, and there's actually another clip where SpongeBob responds. So he's like, yeah, wiener thing, blow up in his face. And then SpongeBob is like, yeah, blow up. So, I mean.
Yeah, they keep referencing it. I mean, even the drawings are somewhat inappropriate. It's like, there's a lot of little hidden things in here that I think are just, yeah.
Okay, so this is actually a reference or a clip, a cutout from the episode about Nickelodeon that we did. Link in the description if you want to watch the whole episode. Especially if you're a parent, I'm telling you really should watch this. It exposes Nickelodeon on a larger scale. But let's look at this.
It makes one wonder why a TV channel that tries to portray itself as kid-friendly has such adult and occult themes in their flagship show. If SpongeBob is the essence of what Nickelodeon really stands for, are the other shows any different? Unfortunately not.
Well, if they gotta make a close-up shot of a popsicle or a lollipop that looks like SpongeBob and then later reveal that, oh wait, it's not what we were thinking, is because they wanted us to think that.
Yeah.
They want us to somehow think of it in the wrong way. And when kids watch this stuff, okay, biologically, when we see something that we shouldn't, it messes with us, right? That's how it works, or even just seeing decent images, even if it's not full nudity. But if this is like the kids' version, it's totally going to lead up to the bigger stuff, to the bigger things. That's why we see that kids are getting exposed at a younger age, right? Because kids are seeing it here in an innocent way. But they're like, okay, well, I like the feeling that cartoons gave me, but like it's not giving me enough. So they go like searching and it gets more exposed until it's like,
Yeah, you're building on a foundation in philosophy. I remember being very struck by seeing a movie poster because when I would speak to audiences, I would tell them, a lot of cartoons are based on this foundation of no rules, no rules, no rules, no rules, get rid of rules, right? And then one day I came across a movie poster for one of the 50 Shades of Grey films, and it said no more rules. And I was like, well, that's how far this goes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just stop when they're young. It carries into adulthood. And then that really, based on the themes of that movie, starts really messing with their relationship with other human beings and with God, because God designed that marriage covenant to be a picture of himself and his church.
If you like what they say in the cartoons with no more rules, and that theme is transferred over to more mature content, why wouldn't you like the mature content, right?
Yeah.
I also really wonder how much this eventually either leads to or like how if this is like satisfying. Because I was showing Felipe that I was really put off by this and really shocked. We have TubeBuddy, which is a plugin so that we can figure out like what tags to use for our videos and stuff like that. And I actually went to this original Nickelodeon video that we did. And I remember that at the time I made the title Nickelodeon is selling to kids. And later on it was changed to something else. But I'm assuming that history TubeBuddy recognized, and I went to the tags and I was like, I wonder what TubeBuddy says, how we are being found through what tags. And I clicked on it. It's like TubeBuddy suggesting these tags will help you be found, right? It was like 50 to 100 tags that all had to do with kids. Meaning people were searching on YouTube child 50 to 100 different variations of it to try to find that.
For children or
with children.
With children, yeah.
That children can watch. And so I'm just thinking, like, why would TubeBuddy make the connection between this video and that?
And it shows the amount of searches that happen.
It was thousands. It was thousands.
Well, and then why do those search terms bring up results? I think that's a bigger question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you really have a distorted view of love, because that's really what's going on, right? If you really truly love your neighbor or other children, you'd want to protect them. You don't want to take advantage of them. And so I think this is systemic of a much larger and longer like twisting of what love really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so again, like if we believe that this is prepping kids for at a way too early age, right? And then like maybe later on, as they're already having these seeds planted in them, they might become interested in. We know that people who will fall really deep into go off to the deep end in it, which happens very frequently. The next step that they're interested in is wild stuff like it happens. Mm-hmm. And so it's like it's so hard to think of an innocent kid watching this, becoming an adult and doing that. But I don't think that this is not for no reason. Satan's not out there thinking, well, all I want to do is just teach them a little bit about when they're too young and that's where I'll stop. He's not going to stop. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like, I've got you now. I'm going to keep going and push it as far as I can. And so we really have a decision to make. Are we going to put them on the trajectory of God and the Bible and show them what true love and true relationships and true, according to the Bible, is like, or we allow this and it's starting to plant seeds toward the other side.
Mm-hmm. Satan is not going to be outwardly obvious at first if he wants to reach children and even adults, right? You got to start with the small things, because there are always parents will have to talk with their children, hey, don't access this type of stuff, or hey, don't get into strangers' vans or whatever. But then that's why even with most cases happen with someone who was close to the child, right? So it's not that obvious when the predator happens. And same with it starts with little things, and then it increases to the point where, okay, I am desensitized to, full-on nudity. Mm-hmm. It starts with little things like cartoons that have inappropriate things in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can guarantee you that there is no out there who's not watching. Mm-hmm. Zero. It just doesn't happen. And then also Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I sent you a documentary recently that kind of exposed his journey for why he is dating 19-year-old girls now. I mean,
he's like almost 50 something.
56, 54, something like that. But it is messed up, dude. He went to live with his dad in LA because he thought that was more fun. Mm-hmm. And his dad started feeding him. And there was a time where his dad said in an interview, it's been recorded, where he's like, well, I didn't want my son to be the last of the class to end up having for the first time. I wanted to be the first. And so he was like teaching his son at a 12-year-old age about sex. And then I guess his dad had a girlfriend or a woman he was interested in that were at this restaurant or bar or something, which again, why is this kid, Anthony, there, 12 years old? And Anthony hands his dad a note. He's like, and the note said, I want to have sex with your girlfriend. Can I do that? And his dad's like, yeah, I'll set you up. Now, either the dad was sleeping with minors himself for the girlfriend to be the same age as Anthony, or, which is more likely, his girlfriend was an adult and she had sex with a minor. And he set it up. He's like, here's the bed. Now look at what happened to Anthony today. He's having girlfriends that are just the right age, right? That he can publicly parade around. I mean, what's the trajectory of when you deal with that stuff as a kid? And then so what does the Bible say we should be like? Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report. If there's any virtue, and if there's any praiseworthy, meditate on these things. This is what we're supposed to be looking at.
I don't think it helps anybody. A lot of these things that don't have God in the perspective or the picture, it's just, humorous to people that, probably have no connection to God whatsoever. And so I think, the more that we can spend time really building that relationship with God, and then, not allowing these worldly things to kind of come into our homes, I think you will make your taste buds desire wholesome things like this. I think when you constantly eat the junk food of the world, you're going to form your taste buds for that. And that's what you're going to be drawn to. So we do have to make a decision at this point. Are we going to have wholesome things in our life, or are we going to have these terrible, disgusting, worldly things?
Now, why does any of this matter, right? I've referenced this so many times, so I won't verbalize it myself. Let's take a look at this clip and see how this stuff is affecting our brain and how it's actually changing us.
The name mirror neuron comes from the fact that they fire both when you do something and when you watch someone doing something, even if you don't move a muscle. Basically, it's as if they mirror the neural activity of the person actually doing the thing.
In other words, by beholding, we become changed. But we all, with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image, from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of the Lord. If by beholding Jesus we can become more like Him, it also works the other way around. Science confirms this biblical doctrine.
So, yeah, that was my voice. That was a clip that I used or made for a video about the Barbie movie. Also on the channel if you want to watch it. We'll put a link in the description to that too. But again, this is science. This is how the brain works. Monkey see, monkey do. What I do, if I do something and you see me doing something, your brain can't register the difference between seeing me doing it and you doing it yourself. So again, when kids watch these kind of things, hey, it might actually register, it might actually plant a seed, and it might actually act in your brain as if you were doing it yourself. And that's disgusting. So, well, I never like doing these kind of videos that are kind of dark and just sad. But there's too many kids out there that are watching this and they are innocent. They don't know anything about what's going on. And, some of the parents don't know either. Like, I grew up in this stuff. My mom grew up as a Christian, and we weren't Christian in our home when I was growing up. But there was many times when she saw me watching something and was like, hey, don't watch that because that's not good. They try, and people just don't always know. And that's why we want to put this information out there, not to judge anyone or any parent, but to provide a resource and to say, look, this is what's going on. And now they can make a decision and prayerfully take it to God and say, Lord, help me to really raise my kids in a fear of the Lord. And, because that's what God wants. And He wants us to have a correct portrayal of love and relationships and marriage the way He designed it to be. And I believe Satan is using this kind of stuff to do the opposite. So let's stay close to Jesus because He's coming soon. And let's feed our kids the Bible and genuine, loving, good stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. A lot of people who watch these videos are not subscribed, but I think you'll like a bunch of other videos that we've got that are coming out soon. So hit the subscribe button below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.